everybody is mad at Eboni K. Williams because of what she had to say about not dating a bus driver.
Would you date a bus driver? Would you date
if
a bus
he owns
driver?
the bus? If he owns
No.
it. If he owns the bus,
See,
he
that's
owns
a
it.
problem. That's a problem.
Okay.
Because the standards and requisites, and I'm not talking about him laying on his sofa playing video games all day, but the standards and the criteria that we use to measure men is off for who we are as women and who they are in this society.
I don't think what she was saying is wrong about having higher expectations. I think in general, the problem isn't that she wouldn't date a bus driver, because let's be honest, we don't expect a woman who is a lawyer or an attorney to date a bus driver. I think we can all see that. Like, where do you ever see that? Usually, you normally don't. I think the problem is how she said it and the way that she said it, and she kind of made it seem like she was looking down on him, like I would never, or like if he was like an owner.
Would you date
If he owns the bus?
That's the problem I think people have about the situation. Another big issue that I think a lot of people had was the fact that when she had to do a response to it, she kind of spun the situation to be like, well, we shouldn't, as black people, accept less. We shouldn't accept mediocrity.
So out of the 50,000 plus comments posted on social, I only saw a handful that even considered the possibility of a bus owner being a more aspirational position, and recognizing that I am actually speaking and pouring into the ascension of black men when I said what I said.
And that's not the part that people were mad about. People are mad about, it seems that you're looking down on bus drivers. People are mad that it seems like you're looking down on the average person who has an average job, saying that's not good enough. When you talk about being about the people, when you talk about giving people grace, when you talk about being so heavy community based, and then when people ask you about the average person in your community, and it seems like you seem like disgusted by the notion that you would date an average person in the community, is what people have an issue with. Because I have my own preferences, right? And to be honest, I really don't care what anyone has to say about my preference, because that's me. So I respect the fact that she has a preference, because at the end of the day, that's her, and we shouldn't be able to tell her what her preference is. The problem is, don't downgrade people who are not your preference. For example, look at someone like Kanye West. Kanye West's preference is probably what? It's probably a white girl with a really big butt. Amber Rose, Kim K. But you don't hear Kanye West disrespect black women and say, oh, I would never, or unless a black woman were to make stacks like me, right? You don't hear him say stuff like that, because at the end of the day, it seems like he's looking down on the black woman. It's okay to have your preference, but just don't knock what is not your preference.
Watching the video and seeing her, and I watched it back and her going like, if you own the bus, all right. She was in a way being like, no, I wouldn't date a bus driver. I rock with everybody out there that does blue collar work. I don't have any problem with them at all. I respect them.
Yeah.
I've done it. But I'm not mad at her for having a visceral response to that question that she was unprepared. Well, she was not prepped for. In her mind at that instant, she's like, no, she's probably thinking, she is thinking what we just stated, but she didn't have the time to process it and say it in a way that people could digest. Because you just said, and I agree, how often do you see a bus driver and lawyer together?
Never. Right? I never see it, right?
Neither.
I never see it.
So for her to be like, no, I think it was almost like her saying, no, but how, like almost like what we're saying. Like,
Yeah.
no, but why would you expect that? I'm a lawyer. Not saying she's better. I don't think that lawyers are better than bus drivers. I think that she was just saying, why that doesn't make any sense. I can't fault her for a response, but I don't think she should be looking down on blue collar workers or bus drivers or police officers or janitors or anything like that.
If you don't want people who are bus drivers, okay, fine, fair enough, right? There's certain girls in certain professions that I would never date either. That's why I don't have an issue with it. But for someone to be like, oh, like, I would never, or like, why would you even say that? I mean, it's rude. That's like me if I were to say, you know what? Would you date a girl OnlyFans? And I'm like, ew, they're gross. I would never. And then me get surprised when OnlyFans girls or other people get mad at me for saying I wouldn't do it. They're not mad at me because I wouldn't date a girl who did OnlyFans. They're mad at me because I seem disgusted, and it seems like they're lower class than me because of the way that I said it.
All right.
I mean,
but I will say, I would expect her to keep the same energy if the reverse was the case. Like, I don't want her to be like, oh, would you be able to date a bus driver? I wouldn't date if he owned a bus. If that's your response to that, don't you dare then have a different response for if Mr. Van Zandt was asked a man, a lawyer, a high-powered male lawyer was like, oh, would you date, I don't know, like you said, an OnlyFans model? He's like, no. She better have the same energy.
Yeah.
And not try to like defend that, oh, well, he should try to be open-minded and blah, blah, blah. No.
Yeah, I mean, she has to have the same energy about herself.
Same energy about herself as well.
If someone were to put her stats on a thing,
right.
And like I said, I'm not going to say this to try to degrade her or anything like that, but I'm just going to say, like, okay, she's an older woman, right?
Right.
She's in a very tough profession,
correct.
So she works very long hours.
Right.
And a man says, oh, well, I would never do that. And then, like, she would get mad at that. But listen, if she wouldn't get mad at that, then I can't say anything, right?
Right.
So I think it's all about how you say certain things, not opposed to what you say about it. Because if we're being honest, she didn't say anything that was necessarily bad. She wants to date an owner that would own a bus opposed to someone driving a bus.
Yeah.
Fair enough, right? But that's the thing. When you're marketed, when you market towards a certain community, you have to realize that certain community has certain sensitivities too. So if you put yourself out there like, oh, I'm for the people or whatever, you have to realize that those people still have certain sensitivities. And if you're trying to speak to these people, then you have to talk to them in a certain way that, I mean, they're going to respond positively to.
That's fair.
But also at the same time, if I'm play devil's advocate, there are things that people need to hear, and it's unpleasant. There are some times where you have to tell people the truth, regardless if it hurts or not. So there are some statements that she made that were factual, but like I was saying before, that's not what people were upset about. They're mainly upset about the way she responded to if she were to date a bus driver.
And look, you're right, and I'm happy that you brought that point up. For me, the overall interview, because I watched the clip on World Star.
Yeah.
I saw the first clip of it, and then I watched the entire interview, and I was like, what Ayanla was saying was, she was spitting fire that I think a lot of black women need to hear. And I'm just keeping it real.
Yeah.
But guess what? I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, it's all black women. Because guess what? A lot of people in male spaces, for example, Kevin Samuels, love him or hate him, rest in peace, he didn't take it easy on dudes.
Yeah.
Oh, nah. He
went in. He went
in on men.
He went in.
And men had to listen to him and respect him as an older man who's been there, done that, who's successful, and go, okay, what am I doing in my life? How am I living? Let me try to take some of what he's saying and incorporate it into my own life. That's what some of
Eboni K.
Williams' audience may also need to hear from someone like Van Zandt.
Yeah.
And try to incorporate some of that into their life so that we can, as people, come together and be more successful together. And that's going to be calibrating ourselves a bit. Because like Van Zandt said, things are kind of different now. Not saying that we would expect... Just take it away from bus driver lawyer. Not that we would expect, like, I don't know. There's something called hypergamy. We're not normally going to expect a woman that makes a lot of money to marry or date a man that makes a lot less than her. Yeah. Not saying that man's lesser than her. It's just hypergamy.
Yeah, I mean, we're not expecting a girl who's a doctor to date a guy who works at fries at McDonald's.
Who does not.
It's
just no
to
respect
that
to that
guy. It's not a shocker, right?
It's not a shocker.
Yeah.
But respect to that man. And he can level up. And if that's what he's meant to do and what he wants to do, shout out to him. But at the same time, we also shouldn't expect men to accept whatever from women either. Because that's the narrative that goes along now.
Yeah.
Oh, take me at my worst, accept me at my best, love me how I am. No, we have some expectations too.
Yeah.
And we're going to ask what you bring to the table, Steve Harvey. And that is what it is.
I like how you put that in there.
For real, because
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's a problem with asking what someone brings to the table as long as you're okay with asking the same thing.
Exactly.
So if someone's asking me what my career is, what I do, what are my goals, it should be acceptable for me to ask someone I'm interested in the same thing.
I'm gonna keep it real.
Yeah.
Because you're being PC. You're not being PC. You're doing the right thing. I'm gonna do the wrong thing. I'm gonna do the right wrong thing.
Yeah.
The woman might ask you what you do for a living or for a career or whatever, because that's what she cares about in a man.
Yeah.
You might ask her, what's your dating history like? I.e., you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Or, what else do we care about? Certain things that men care about in women. They're different but equal. We want different things, and that's okay.
And that's what. Yeah, I was about to say that's fine.
That's fine. Just don't be a hypocrite about it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't be hypocritical and be like, oh, I want a man that makes six figures and blah, can run the world and all that stuff, but then also expect that same man to accept what normally he wouldn't otherwise accept.
Exactly. I mean, that goes back to the point what you were saying. Ebony K matches her criteria for the guy that she wants. Because
Right.
one thing that I listened to in the conversation is that she says there's a small pool of men that actually go to her standards that she would like to date.
Right.
But it's like what you said before. Does she reach those same standards?
Exactly.
But listen, if she does, then I can't fault her.
Right.
Right? I can't fault her for that. Right?
Right.
But it's about men having expectations, and it's about women have expectations, and it's about being realistic at the same time. Right?
Exactly.
Because her response was realistic. Right? Mm-hmm. But also, like I said, you got to bring the same energy.
Right. Exactly.
So, I mean, I think that's the biggest problem in the dating market right now is that it seems like it's two extremes. It seems like, okay, well, you have men who are mad that a woman doesn't want the average guy, but then you have women that are mad that men don't want to accept women who are average either. Because one complaint I hear from a lot of women are like, well, guys are going after a lot of girls who have surgery. That's a big complaint that I hear. But it's like, if you're going after the abnormal men, you really can't be mad that a man is going after abnormal women then.
Didn't know that. That's real.
So, I mean, but the fact that, like, people are just judging people on just crazy standards, because most people are average, if we're being honest. You're going to find way more bus drivers than you are corporate attorneys. You know? There's going to be way more people working fries than being doctors. It just is what it is. That's reality. So that's another big factor in this conversation is that I think people have disrespected the average person so much that now people are very sensitive when it comes to people not wanting to go with the average person. Because most people are the average person. Most people are getting C's in class. That doesn't mean you shouldn't shoot for the A, but most people are getting C's. Most people are making $45,000 to $50,000. Obviously, inflation has come, may go a little bit higher than that, sure, right? But most people are average. We have to, in this day and age, we got to start coming out with more respect for the more average person. You know, social media is nice, but it's not reality. Most 22-year-olds aren't driving a Lamborghini. Most girls aren't models. Most girls' butt isn't like 50 inches. Something ridiculous that you see on social media, man. Most people aren't traveling the world 90% of the time, and they're going all this expensive stuff, and everything they do is not great. They're not always eating these fancy restaurants.
Facts.
It's okay to have an average lifestyle.
Yeah, it's facts, yeah.
It's okay to be average.
Right.
But it's not okay to attack average, okay?
I agree.
So.
And it's okay to aspire to be greater than average.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always aspire to be more.
Same.
And always aspire to be better.
Agreed.
But at the same time.
Don't attack, like you said.
Yeah, don't attack someone who's going to be average. Because at the end of the day, listen, if you're a business owner, who's going to work at your company?
Robots.
The average Oh, okay. You might be right about that.
Yeah.
But who's going to work at your company? The average person. Mm-hmm. It's going to be the average person, guys. So you can't attack. You can't bolster the business person, but then look down on your employees.
That's real. That's facts. Yeah.
When you're a bad manager, you talk bad about your employees and bad about people who work underneath you. No one wants to work with you
At all.
So, back to the main point, guys, is it's okay to have preferences. It's okay not to want to date certain people. It's okay to expect more from people. But what is not okay is to act that someone is less than you. It's not okay to then shame someone for being average, because at the end of the day, most people are.
Right. Agreed.
Let's be realistic.
Yeah, it's facts.
Okay. All right, guys. It's been Bad Decisions. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and let us know. Hey, do you think we're crazy? Are you like, no, she's terrible, she's awful, she shouldn't have done it? Or are you like, hey, man, you know what? Hey, they are some scrubs. They do need to level up. Let us know what you think in the comment section, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram and TikTok. Even though TikTok is very soft. Ugh.
Trash.
All right.